All right. Good evening, you two. This is Brian Badger. I wanted to talk about the P320 and a lot of the safety things people have been talking about with this, especially recently. There's a lot of talk about the P320 not being drop safe. There's a lot of talk about it not being safe in the holster. And I wanted to talk about that and do some testing if we possibly can. Now, the first thing I want to address is the drop safe. I still hear people talking about it not being drop safe. And it kind of irks me because I bought into the P320 pretty early. When I first bought my first P320, I bought the full size. It had this thick trigger shoe. You can see this is the original P320 trigger that came with your unit when they first came out. And the trouble was when they discovered that the P320 wasn't drop safe, it was mostly the trigger's fault. There's also a disconnector inside, but that's another thing. In any case, what happens is this trigger is so heavy that when you drop the P320, like so, the mass of this trigger would literally pull itself. And so it was a very repeatable thing, repeatable failure on the P320. Now, Sig said, oh, yeah, it's still safe, blah, 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 because, by industry standards, you drop it like this. And by industry standards, you drop it like this, and you drop it like this, and you drop it like this. No industry standard is to drop it like that. Well, personally, for my own safety, I don't give a crap what the industry standard is. I want to know that my pistol is not going to go off when I drop it anyway. So, in my personal opinion, Sig didn't really handle that as well as they could have. I think they should have just recalled every single P320 on the market and off the market and said, hey, get the trigger replaced or send it in for what they called the voluntary upgrade so that you can have a drop-safe P320. They instead did it voluntarily where you can send your P320 in and they'll do a little milling in the slide. Right here, this is an original subcompact slide. You can see the milling there is kind of shiny because there's no finish on it. I sent this in for the voluntary upgrade. And inside here you can see this is a newer slide. And you can see that the milling in there isn't as shiny. It's got the factory finish in there because I bought this after the voluntary upgrade had been implemented in every new firearm. They also made some changes to the FCU. There's this little piece right here. I forget what it's called. But it has to do with keeping the pistol from firing when it's out of battery. So when your pistol's out of battery, it will no longer fire. So originally it would, but it won't anymore. So if I pull the trigger here, you can hear it click. But if I push it out of battery like so, let's say like right here, there's a click, but that's not it. It's not releasing, right? That's the out of battery keeping you safe from firing. Now, that's all well and good, but they should have had that as a recall, in my opinion. In any case, okay, it's upgraded. Why is it unsafe anymore? Well, because they're still going off, aren't they? There's no denying that some people have had holstered firearms discharge. Now, what I can't get around is that I cannot find for the life of me any documented evidence of the pistol firing in the holster without there being something about the setup I disapprove of. Or at least, not that I disapprove of, but something in the setup that seems wrong to start with. Like when the police officer was shot with his P320 on film, well, the moment of discharge can't be seen. Somebody else is leaning over the pistol and you can't see what's happening. And, so you can't really confirm whether or not something got in there and pulled the trigger. Another thing is, I saw one where somebody holstered it, but they were using a Serpa holster. And, those ones aren't very good. I don't think anyone should use a Serpa holster. They're very dangerous. Usually because your finger has to engage the button in order to release, and it's very easy to get your finger in the trigger guard there. But Besides that, is there something I can do to say, hey, is it possible for this thing to fire without the trigger being manipulated at all? Well, it turns out there is something you can do. You can depress the sear without opening up the gun. So right back here, you can't see it, but there's a gap here, and you can access the sear from here, from the outside of the firearm. So what I've discovered is if I take an X-Acto blade and I put it in here, I learned this from a YouTube video. I'll have a link in the description where I learned about this. He wasn't using an X-Acto blade, he was using something else, but this is what I got. You press down. You hear that? That sear released the firing pin, or I'm sorry, the striker. So if I pull the trigger now, well, nothing's happening. It's already discharged, right? Oh my gosh. What if somebody's poking their fingernail in there and depressing the sear and firing the gun? Well, that made me think. Is there some way I can find out if the firing pin actually left the, protruded from the breech face? Because I know there is a striker block safety inside this pistol that prevents the striker from protruding from the breech face if the trigger hasn't been pulled. So I wanted to test it and find out. And there's an easy way to do that. All I got to do is take a piece of tape, put it on the breech face, make sure it's a nice clean piece of tape. Don't put your fingerprints on there. You won't be able to see it. Put it on the breech face there like so. Close the firearm. Pull the trigger. And then pull off the tape. And we should see an indentation in the tape. And you can see that little black smudge right there. That's where the firing pin kind of left a bit of soot. I've actually got a microscope. We can see a little better. Using my Steam Deck as a portable PC here. If I take this, put it under my portable microscope, see right there. Okay, I'll take a picture of that. Okay. The ring here, that's the hole in the breech face. That speck there, that's the striker actually piercing the tape. I'm not sure if it pierced through or if it just made an indentation, but that is where the striker struck the tape. And the soot is, well, I went to the range today, so there's a bunch of gunk in there. So there we can confirm, yes, the striker actually struck the tape. Well, let's go back and let's try that again, but this time by releasing the releasing the striker by depressing the sear without pulling the trigger and see what happens. Make sure it's good and on there. All right. And you can tell that sounded different, right? The impact was not the same as it was the first time. If I take this, you can kind of see it looks cleaner, doesn't it? I'll come back over here to my microscope. Put this under here, find that. Oh, would you look at that? You can see the hole where the breech face would allow the striker to come through. There's no impression. None at all. Not even a speck of dirt. So that to me, that's a good sign. So I know that striker safety is functioning properly. I better take a picture of this one too. So I just wanted to show off some of the holsters I was talking about that I would say are probably unsafe to use. These are holsters that I have used and I thought were perfectly safe, and I think my opinion has changed. Now that they're high quality, this one's a high quality holster. In any case, it functions. I'm a lefty, you can see. It slides right in, right? Clicks. Well, if you look in here, you can, if this was bright enough, you'd be able to see. I can get my finger right in here to the trigger. Pull that trigger. Easy to do. And I think at least half the time that these things are discharging in the holster, something like that is happening. I've also got this one using a very popular weapon mounted light, stream light. Oh, probably need the FCU, don't I? Probably just put that in there. Should have just brought my other pistol. Get that on right. Alright, there we go. Now I've got stream light, right? I've got this Black Hawk holster. I liked this because it has a thumb release. You know, I was like, oh yeah, I want level 2 retention. Okay, it snaps in there, pull, release, right? Very, very cool, but look how open this is. This is a universal holster, right? This holster will fit any pistol with this weapon mounted light. It's very secure, but easy to just put your finger in there and pull that trigger by accident. Just easy. So that's kind of why I'm gonna lean away from weapon mounted lights for the time being. Yeah, so instead of using a weapon mounted light, I'm just gonna rock a regular old holster. Yeah, paddle holster, go ahead, yell at me. So if I have a holster like this, puts it in, there is no chance of anything getting into that trigger guard there. Like, that is a high quality holster right there. Like, okay, maybe, you know, you could fit a string in or something, but no kid's finger, no my finger, nothing's gonna get in there. And I like being able to, you know, use the magazine detach in the holster. That's kind of handy when you're on the range. So yeah, so a holster like this, absolutely. So I hope that was informative. I hope that everybody finds my experiment helpful and useful or whatnot. Please leave some comments below if you have any more like real evidence that shows the P320 being unsafe in a holster. I'm very interested because I want to carry this pistol. I want to use this pistol. So if you've got some more than just an opinion, let me know in the comments below, please. Thank you very much.